Good afternoon to everyone. Hola, bom dia. So these are the two words in Portuguese that I have learned very quickly in my time here in Brazil. My name is Shantanu Mandal, and I am the co-chair for a specialist group in IUCN called RESPEC, which stands for Religion, Spirituality, Environmental Conservation and Climate Justice, and I'm also a representative of the Brahma Kumaris. Today in this press conference, we will be looking into how conscious food choices can be a very big solution to the present climate crisis. We are partnering with Plant-Based Treaty here. So a little bit introduction about Plant-Based Treaty. Plant-Based Treaty is a grassroots initiative creating bottom-up pressure for the negotiations of a global plant-based treaty as a companion to the UNFCCC process for Paris Agreement. Modeled on the fossil fuel treaty, the plant-based treaty aims to put food systems at the forefront of combating the climate crisis to halt the widespread degradation of critical ecosystems caused by animal agriculture to promote a shift towards healthier, sustainable, plant-based diets. And we have partnered with Plant-Based Treaty, so we are an organization called the Brahma Kumaris. Established in the 1936, Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University has grown to become the largest spiritual organization in the world, to be led by women, and is open to everyone, both men and women. The organization promotes spiritual lifestyle of simple living, regular meditation, a vegetarian and often vegan diet, spiritual service to the community, and the promotion of principles and values based on non-violence. With over 1 million regular students and many more millions who regularly take benefit from the courses and events we offer, there is a natural importance given to the idea of treading lightly on this planet, which falls in the line with climate action. The Brahma Kumaris have been actively involved in promoting the importance of shift in consciousness in how we live and see the Earth's natural resources, especially seen through projects for land regeneration like sustainable yogic agriculture and other interventions like community-based tree plantation projects like COP30, growing food forests like Arogyaban, and many others. So to my right is Sister Jayanti. She is the additional administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University and is the main representative of the Brahma Kumaris to the UN in Geneva. She has spent over 50 years teaching spirituality. She brings spiritual principles into global climate discussions, leading COP delegations since 2009, advocating value-based solutions to today's interconnected crisis. To right of her is Enric Noguera. He is a specialist in international law, climate change, human rights, and animal welfare with extensive global advocacy experience. As UN Affairs Coordinator for the Plant-Based Treaty, he leads strategy, lobbying, and negotiations to advance food system transformation as a core climate solution. To his right is Dr. Larissa Carreiro. She is a PhD in Sustainable Development and Amazon-born specialist in food system transformation. She represents the Plant-Based Treaty at COP30, advancing the Amazon's leadership in climate solutions through sustainable and plant-based food systems. So today we are here to discuss on some very important issues, but I'll first open the floor with Sister Jayanti, then Enric and Larissa to share your first thoughts on this topic, conscious planet, conscious food systems.
Good afternoon and a greeting of peace, Om Shanti. In India they say, whatever you eat is that which determines the quality of your mind. And they also say, the mind influences the food that you eat. And so we believe in a conscious way, both things are absolutely real. That yes, there are some foods that have a balancing, stabilizing influence on the mind, but equally there are some foods that, in India they categorize things onto 3 levels, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, and so levels of purity. So the top level, sattvic, that has a stabilizing, beneficial influence, then the middle level, which then has a fluctuation within the mind, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And the tamasic, it's a stimulus for negativity, for lethargy, for all sorts of waste. And so there's been thousands of years of research undertaken to come to these conclusions. And if you want to experiment, you can find out yourself also. Try yourself a week with sattvic diet, a week with tamasic diet, and so on, and you'll see the difference. So on the one side, yes, very much, food is impacting the mind. But on the other side, we also know that why is it that children and adults love homemade apple pie? It's because the person who made the apple pie probably made it with a lot of love rather than an eye to commercialism and the money factor, or even thinking of other negative emotions. But it was done with a lot of care and love, and so the food carries that quality within itself. And food can also have a healing impact, and the mind can have a purifying impact on the food. So spirituality makes us aware of all these different aspects. But maybe the thing that I want to emphasize in this short presentation is how we use the power of the mind, meditation, in our yogic agricultural practices. This started when, some years ago, a farmer who was a meditator in Maharashtra, and Maharashtra is the largest state in India, and it supplies a lot of food to the rest of India also. But there was famine there, there was drought, there were many problems, and this farmer and his family decided they would experiment with meditation as used to happen in the earlier days. And so what that meant was that when the soil was being tilled, there was meditation. Then when the soil was ready for plantation, before taking the seeds to the field, again meditation. And then during plantation, meditation again, and morning and evening meditation through that period in which the plant was growing. And at the end, harvest time, and again meditation, and the first offering made to the divine. And it was very valuable, because what they found was that they didn't need to spend money on fertilizers, they didn't need to spend money on pesticides, but they were able to achieve good, healthy crops just through this process of meditation. People got interested, and the idea began to spread through many families in that area, but also because they were connected with the Brahma Kumaris, when they shared it in Abu at our headquarters, then many other states also adopted this practice. It attracted the attention of universities, agricultural universities specifically, and again, that was also then being taken into research. And what they found was that the bacteria in the soil, which was healthy bacteria, multiplied, and the soil had fewer bacteria that were harmful. The produce was also much tastier, much healthier, and so it seemed to be a win-win situation in all directions. And so, yes, always need for further and further research, but apart from that, we can see that things are moving in the right direction when people start using these ideas for their own families. Usually it's been subsistence farmers who've been using this, but also universities now experimenting with this on a larger scale. So definitely the thoughts that you have when you're cooking get infused within the food, but also food has an impact not just on the mind, but also, of course, on the body. Plant-based diet definitely is healthier than any other form of diet in terms of food and drink. So let me stop here, and having given you this brief introduction, I hope maybe there'll be questions later.
Thank you so much, Sister Jayanti. Now we would like to hear from Enric, your impulse on the topic.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think when we talk about policy and policy making, we need to understand that it is a very, let's say, technical process, and we oftentimes forget what we are actually trying to represent. And when I mean we, I mean both policymakers, I mean civil society actors who are also contributing to that process of policy making. And at the end of the day, it's very important to understand the One Health concept. The health of the animals depends on our health and vice versa, and we all depend on the health of the planet. And it doesn't matter if you look at it from a climate perspective, from a selfish human perspective, or from an animal welfare perspective. At the end of the day, that is the reality of the situation. So it's very important when drafting policy that we understand what we are representing. And out of all these technical words, we understand that there are lives, and that if we look at the state of the planet, it is clear that we're doing something wrong. And in my experience, what I'm seeing is that more and more, we are becoming more divided. We are becoming more unaware of who we are, more detached, more disconnected. And this is fundamentally what I think this lack of consciousness is what is lacking in policymaking. And it is one of, in my opinion, one of the main reasons why we are now at the point where we are at now. And this lack of understanding, this lack of communication is just making the situation worse and worse, to the point where there is not just no point of no return in terms of the physical barriers of the planet, but it seems that we are creating some divisions that are going to be very hard to get back to it. So I'm very hard to be sitting by your side, because I think people like you are an inspiration, and we need more of that into policy, and people who are working in policy to hopefully bridge that gap.
Thank you so much, Enric. One health policy is definitely a mantra for everyone to take back. And as Sister Jayanti also mentioned, our thoughts impact our food, and our food impacts our thought. So now over to Dr. Larissa. What is your impulse on the topic?
Thank you. My name is Larissa Carreiro. I'm a PhD in Sustainable Development, born in Amazon territory here, Belém of Pará. And I represent the plant-based treaty here at COP30. When we talk about a conscious food and a conscious planet, we are talking about the kind of a future we chose to build. And in the Amazon, this is not a theory, it is a real life. Our food systems are directly linked to deforestation, biodiversity loss, and the emissions that are driving the climate crisis. But they can also become one of our strongest solutions if we redesign them with purpose. A conscious food systems being with a simple truth. Shifting toward plant-based diet is one of the fastest and most accessible ways to cut methane, protect forests, and restore ecosystem. But consciousness is not only about what we eat. It is about the ethics behind the food. It is about understanding that every meal is a decision that impacts the land, the climate, and the communities living in the Amazon territory. Food policies shape territories, and the Amazon cannot continue to carry the weight of global consumption patterns that destroy the biome the whole world depends on. Through the plant-based treaty, we see cities and governments adopting policies that support regeneration, food security, and cultural resilience. And the Amazon has everything needed to lead this shift. Indigenous knowledge, traditional communities, and a rich plant-based biodiversity that already shows what a sustainable food future can look like. Continuous food require require continuous leadership. And continuous leadership requires ethical courage. This is exactly what the world expects from Brazil as the host of COP30. The Amazon territory is not just a place, it is a warming, a guide, and a possibility. If we align our food systems with science and ethics, we can turn that possibility into a real path forward.
Thank you so much, Larissa. I took two sentences when you spoke. One, that our food choices and food policies are actually designing new territories. And secondly, it takes ethical courage to make conscious decisions. So my first question will be coming backwards is to Enric. What are the key legal or diplomatic barriers preventing food system emissions from being adequately addressed here in the UNFCCC processes? How should COP30 negotiators work to overcome them?
Well, I want to be very clear, and I want to use this stage to make a statement, and is that the barriers are neither diplomatic nor legal. The barriers are corporate greed and corporate power. We have seen news in The Guardian and Forbes this week about the amount of lobbyists from animal agriculture and from fossil fuel sectors. Fossil fuel sectors are even bigger represented than a lot of the delegations that we have here. So how are we gonna create solutions together when the corporate greed is able to bully their way in the most important rooms where policymaking is designed? And so the first step, and I think we should exclusively be talking about this step, is about leaving corporate and corporations outside of policy-making rooms. This is just very clear. It has to be in the UN, it has to be at the national level, and it has to be at the local level. And we understand that private sector, it is a part of our economy and it is a part of our lives. But the way that the neoliberal capitalist system is designed is to commodify, extract, and profit. That's the only way. And yes, there might be some more ethical or less ethical companies, but in general, these big corporations are not here to help anybody, are just here to fill the pockets of their stakeholders. And that is just the reality of the situation. So there is only one step that we need to take, which is leave corporations outside of negotiation rooms and these processes at all levels.
Thank you so much, Enric, for bringing the aspect of corporate greed and breaking the illusion that there is an issue in the system here, but not it's actually out there, which needs to be addressed. So to Sister Jayanti, my question would be, food systems are often discussed in terms of numbers and policies and technical terms, emissions, land use, finance. What spiritual or ethical lens should COP30 delegates apply when negotiating and discussing these issues?
I've never been asked this question before. I think that one aspect that I'm very aware of that caused India grief, two actually. One was removing the whole system of multi-plantation, so that there was a rotation of different varieties of vegetables that were being planted or crops that were being planted, to monoplanting, so that they would just have one particular crop that they were planting, and that was for commercial reasons. And so I know that that led to a lot of problems in India and caused quite a bit of distress. The second thing that actually led to multiple suicides in India was the fact that there was one particular organization, a multinational, and what they were doing were telling people how brilliant the crop was going to be. What they didn't tell the people was that the seeds were, the fertilization factor had been removed, and so they could not, the plants that came, the crops that were then being taken, they didn't have the capacity to produce fertile seeds anymore. The seeds had been made infertile. Can you imagine the sort of distress that this caused that led to suicides? And it went on for quite a while. I don't think it happens anymore, but you can see how money becomes the most powerful motivating factor for everything in today's world. Death of people doesn't matter, but it's money that matters. So I think that if we were to think about well-being of people rather than the money factor, there would be a very different set of negotiations that would happen.
Yeah, if well-being is at the heart of the negotiations will be shorter and sweeter. So my question is now to the floor. If you have any questions for the three of our panelists, to Dr. Larissa, Enric, and Sister Jayanti, the floor is open.
Thank you.
There would be a revolving mic there. If somebody wants to ask a question, please raise your hands. And if not, then I will ask questions. Yeah, there's someone?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. When we talk about, my name is Dr. Yazuddin. I represent textile sector and is connected with the cotton crops and all the supply chain. So when you talk about this intervention, what is the way, in your opinion, to fastly act on this? How we can change the mindset of 8 billion people? Because this is alarming and this is a serious issue. We take it on a light mode for a dialogue, not for the action actually. So how you see this, how we can strengthen while we are here at the COP30 and maybe in the COP31 and onwards, because we have to build a movement. This is really important for the globe to shift towards, because all the emissions comes there.
Your question is how to shift people's mindset.
Yeah.
So who would like to go first?
Education and raising consciousness, raising awareness is a spiritual journey, but I think every single organization can take up the whole subject of coming back to values that are important and ethics that can be applied anywhere. And so I think education of these factors is a very important thing.
Yeah, please.
I think we need to create another narratives through medias like internet, videos and internet, but we need I don't know why, but we need have space for creating new narratives in media, because the traditional media, like television and radio, they are partnership with the food traditional marketing, and they create wrong narrative for construction, the pattern of consumption for eat food based on animals, and this food is the pattern of the production. I don't know how I say, very, very bad for the forest, for the environment in general. We need to change our pattern of consumption and each day eat more plants. And we need We need meditation a lot every day for understand who we are, and what we want for, what we want to decide for us, independent of these narratives. But it's very important we can make another narrative, true narratives, not narratives for sales, the products of the marketing of foods based on animals.
Thank you so much, Larissa. We need to create new narratives and new spaces where these narratives could flourish. Is there a question? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for everything you have said. I'm so happy about this event because the topic not taking up much. In one sentence, what are the root causes of the development of having such an unhealthy or unhumane pattern of consumption or culture of consuming food, like eating other creatures' bodies, for example?
So in one sentence, maybe this could be your closing statement as well, because we have almost no time. So maybe you start with Enric?
It's marketing. It's exactly what I was saying before. If we look 1 or 1.5 generations ago, the level of consumption of animal products was not nearly as close as it is right now. I remember my grandparents' generation, they would eat meat like once a month. And today in Spain, they eat meat 3 times a day. This is basically marketing from the industry. It's all it is. And at the same time, it's also important to highlight that, for example, back home, we have the traditional Mediterranean diet, which is mostly based on grains, legumes, pulses, etc. And today, the Mediterranean diet is meat, fish, cheese. It's nothing to do. But they have been able to make us believe that that is our Mediterranean diet, and that is just purely marketing. So I think the topic today is very relevant to understand where we come from, what do we want for ourselves, and what do we want our relationship with the planet and with the rest of animals to be.
Thank you so much, Enric. Beautifully summarized. Sister Jayanti?
I think that my brother put it very well, but we just have to educate ourselves about what is the impact of everything that we do and buy.
So, Larissa?
I can speak in Portuguese.
Okay.
For close
but
it?
I think we don't have translation.
Or no?
So,
No? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Not Portuguese, just in English. No. Thank you. To close it, I wanted to say this. If we talk about a conscious planet, we must also talk about the lives we share this planet with. Climate action is not only about carbon, it is about ethics. It is about choosing food systems that protect forests, respect communities, and do not cause harm to animals, suffering to animals. The Amazon territory teaches us that life is interconnected, and when we honor all forms of life, human and no human, we build a future that is not only sustainable but truly just. This is the leadership that the world expects from us, the COP30. And this is the future we can build together.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who was here. We'll just take 10 seconds of silence as a closing for this. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us. You will have some cards on your tables, on your chairs, which have something related to food, and they are made with seeds. So enjoy them.
We are focusing on making that happen.